Welcome to the Talking HealthTech podcast. My name is Peter Birch. I'm here in San Diego at BIO International, and I'm joined by scientists, founders, investors, pharmaceutical leaders, technology innovators, manufacturers, and healthcare decision makers from around the globe. During the event, I had a chance to sit down with people who are addressing some of the biggest challenges and opportunities in life sciences today. We explored topics like AI-powered drug discovery, manufacturing biopharmaceuticals at scale, accelerating clinical development, bringing new therapeutics to market, improving access to innovative treatments, and the growing role of data and technology across the biotech ecosystem. In this episode, you'll hear a handful of the conversations I've had during BIO International, but head on over to our YouTube channel because there'll be a special playlist featuring all of the discussions that I had here during the event. Collaboration starts with a conversation, Team HealthTech. Let's make it happen.
Well, I'm Jayden Rogers, CEO of Linear Clinical Research.
Excellent. Thanks, Jayden. Tell us a bit more about what you guys are up to.
Yeah, Linear is an early phase clinical trial site. We're based in Perth, Western Australia. We're over here in the US, catching up with our customers. We run early phase trials for Biopharma from the US, China, and elsewhere in the world.
Yeah, amazing. What are the operational things that are required in running a trial, particularly in Australia?
Well, yeah, first in human trials, it's not a small feat.
Yeah.
You're giving an investigational drug to people for the first time. You need world-class facilities. You need high-quality staff. You need great doctors, nurses, and then quality management systems. At the end of the day, you're asking someone from the US that spent 20 years discovering new science that could potentially change people's lives, and you're asking them to trust that with you. So, yeah, it's got to be a quality product.
And is that like the full end-to-end? Because there's, a lot of the conversations I'm having here at BIO are about, finding the right patients for a trial and just getting that kind of process. There's, it's one thing to start a clinical trial, but often, many won't even get out of the gate. So yeah, tell me a bit more about like the challenges in actually operationalizing the thing. Yeah.
Oh, look, it's incredibly complex. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. So science is advancing. We're getting more knowledge. We're getting better at it. But that makes things trickier. And so we're very fortunate in Australia. We've got a well-developed ecosystem. We've got all the providers. We've got a great healthcare system. We've got the right regulatory environment. It's cost-effective. And that means a company from the US can come to Australia, choose their partners. We might be a partner. There's other groups. And then we can put together the clinical trial. We can deliver that, make that trial available to local patients. But what we're seeing is the drug development world is evolving. So it's becoming more targeted, more precise, and being able to access patients is an incredibly important part of it. There's also another part where you're recruiting healthy volunteers. But where it really gets exciting in my mind is when you start giving these therapeutics to patients. And we've had a lot of experience in cancer, and this is taking some of the best breakthroughs to people who are very unwell. And in some cases, we're seeing remarkable outcomes. So yeah, it's a bit of a glimpse into the future of medicine.
Yeah, 100%. No, you get to see all of it before it comes out. Another theme in a lot of the conversations I'm having here at BIO is how popular Australia is for clinical trials. So I assume it's going to be a busy period for you at the moment.
Yeah, you can probably tell by my voice. It's not usually this croaky. That's from all the meetings and also the parties, as you know. But it's really nice. Yeah, I came here 10 years ago, actually, to San Diego, and I had to get the map out, show everyone where Australia was, where Western Australia was. Now I'm getting told what to do by the Americans and learning about Australia from them. So the reputation's very strong for good reason. And there's a big Australian contingent here. So yeah, it's really nice to see. Really see that respect and the brand awareness that's developed. But it's only looking like it's going to get stronger.
What kind of advancements or like innovations or different ways that you do things at a trial site have kind of evolved over the years as well? Because like every part of the industry, everyone needs to do more with less and also just continue to evolve and, expand into other areas. Are there any kind of innovations or advancements that you can talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as an industry, we're in Australia, we've got a really good setting for a start. So the regulatory environment really does support companies coming to Australia. So it's a really good starting point. But then the way the ecosystem has developed, we've got a lot of providers and we all sort of invest and specialize in slightly different areas. In our case, we're very much driven by our purpose to get therapeutics to patients, to fast track that development. We've been able to innovate in technology and facilities, particular. We launched Australia's first ever private hospital solely dedicated to clinical trials. That's been in operation for 2 years now. And that's where we deliver our cancer clinical trials to very sick patients. I've had the privilege of taking big pharma through there and some of the leading CROs and Biopharma, and it's consistently been described as one of the best centres in the world. So, and then we're very fortunate in Australia. We've got great clinicians. So you innovate around the clinicians, because at the end of the day, you need someone that knows what they're doing. You need a really great clinician as principal investigator, but they become a key opinion leader, and the biopharma companies, they need to influence them so they prescribe the drug if it eventually becomes successful.
I'm going to imagine this is not my, it's becoming my area of expertise, but my last kind of question, or thinking about, those that are looking to run a clinical trial, if you had the opportunity to, because I guess there would be a lot of circumstances in clinical trials where, for unavoidable reasons, we weren't able to get, treatments into the hands of patients. But there may be other avoidable situations that if things were done differently at some point in the process, we could have got perhaps some innovative new care to patients. Are there any kind of key things you hope that, or you would give advice to say, let's get this right so we've got more chance of success later on?
Yeah, look, absolutely. Discovering drugs is a very expensive process. Yeah. It's circa $2 billion to get a new drug all the way through. I think you mentioned earlier, the success rates are not great. 90% will fail through development. It takes 10 years on average to get a drug developed. So, yeah, that's too long. There's definitely ways that we can fast track that. I think from the Australian perspective, it's really leveraging the advantages we have, particularly in the startup timelines and that regulatory environment that I described. Continuing to stimulate the industry. It's great to see the support across government, non-government, industry. Building that out is really important. But then I think I'm really excited. I'm somewhat nervous about what AI is going to do to this industry. That holds huge promise. There's a lot of duplicated effort. There's a lot of inefficient effort in drug development for very good reasons. But this is where we're starting to see some real promise ourselves with some of the pilots we're rolling into our operations. We're seeing it with our clients too. And I think we're going to get a good glimpse soon. There's a whole lot of drugs that were discovered with the support of AI, starting to go through early clinical trials. And the hope is that they'll have a higher success rate. They're better designed molecules. So I think we're going to start to see the innovation, but I think it's incumbent on everyone to sort of keep pushing the envelope. And we've got to do it for the right reasons, because as you sort of picked up, that's the patient at the end of the day, and people need it. And I think the other thing is we look at it a lot in a range of areas. Cancer's been a good example, but less than 5% of patients in Australia get access to a clinical trial. But if you go to a leading cancer centre anywhere in the US, there's 60% of patients go onto some form of trial. So we're on a mission to change that. And it's not just cancer. There's a whole range of other areas. We're seeing a lot of excitement in immunology, cardiometabolic fields, neurology. So, but our hope is that, as we get better at drug development, we get these therapies to patients sooner.
I'm Stacie Calad-Thomson. I lead business development at Nvidia for pharma, labs, and manufacturing.
Thanks, Stacie. Tell us a little bit more about what Nvidia does in the life sciences space.
Yeah, so we work across the ecosystem with pharma and biotechs that are building on AI and data and enabling sort of the next generation of drug discovery. So I'm working across that ecosystem. We have just launched our BioNemo Agent Toolkit. Okay. So this is taking the last decade of research and products that Nvidia has been working on in life sciences. So models that understand the language of biology and chemistry. We've packaged them up now so that agents can have access to them. It's all documentation that you can point your agent at our GitHub, and now your agent can use those tools, those skills to be able to build pipelines that help you in your own drug discovery pursuits.
Yeah. For those that wouldn't be totally, that may be familiar with Nvidia generally, and then going, wait, hang on a second, we're talking about enabling agents and drug discovery, life sciences, that's very much in this world of this industry vertical. Why, for those that may be thinking just of Nvidia as I don't know, the behind the scenes or the infrastructure powering stuff, what you just described is a lot more involved than all of that. Can you help fill that gap a little bit?
Yeah. So we want to make it easier for people to use and consume compute. And we do that by making open source models that are able to be used by many in the community. And I think at this next inflection point of agentic AI, it's going to be democratizing access so that you don't necessarily need to be a computational chemist or biologist to understand how to use all these tools.
Yeah.
It is something that's going to be more accessible to, people like just chemists or biologists that have ideas and have hypotheses and are looking to access more tools, and using agents enables them to do that. So for us at Nvidia, if we make it easier for people to use compute, make it more accessible, then people are consuming more compute, and that ends up on a GPU usually somewhere.
That makes a lot of sense. And I guess if I think about it too, because we've been talking a long time, for recently about how with all of this data that's collected, probably not humanly possible to do it all with humans. That's where the role of artificial intelligence comes in, to be able to look at what we can do with the data that's been collected. But then, it's not just your average person that's, say, trying to do something with, you kind of need to know what you're doing with the information and what you need to ask. But then if you're getting professionals to utilize AI, you don't want them spending all of their time in training the AI on what they're looking for, if you know what I mean. Am I kind of in the right direction here? You're kind of enabling, like you're taking the computery bits out for the scientists to allow them to do more sciencing?
Yeah, I think what these tools are is enabling like a new coworker to join your team, and that's how I think of it. It's right now they might just be like a really smart sort of PhD student, a grad student that's fresh off of their degree, that's still learning the ropes, but they have an understanding of a lot of the tools and capabilities. So part of it is treating them as a new intern that you're going to help teach how you want to be able to progress through a drug discovery program, for instance, or find that new biological target or refine that new molecular structure, and then it's going to have tools that it can call on to help you refine some of your journey as well.
What I'm learning through my time here at Bio International is there are a lot of players that kind of hone in on those specific parts that you mentioned, like the drug discovery part or the, on the molecular side. If you're kind of building this base, is that in competition? Are you collaborating? How does that kind of all come together?
We see, all of our tools are open source, so we want to make these broadly available, and we're still supporting people that have commercial models. Those are amazing models. They make it easier to consume as well than somebody that's trying to integrate an open source. So we want people to consume wherever they can and however they want to, however they're most comfortable with, whether that's through one of our commercial partners that has built on top of our stack and made something that is easier for a scientist to use, or whether that scientist wants to build something themselves with all of the tools that are in our toolkit.
And I hear also, I was reading through about the BioNemo toolkit stuff. There's like also, it's across the Anthropic side and OpenAI as well.
Yeah, so any agent can be pointed at the GitHub and pull out any of our tools. So we love working with OpenAI and Anthropic. We also have some of our own LLMs, like our Nematron model and agent harnesses and NemoCon, OpenShell, if people want to build their own and sort of control their own destiny that way as well.
Very cool. If I think about all of that kind of enabling the ecosystem, which is so cool, it's kind of like at the same time, if you've got everything available to you and the world is the oyster, so to speak, it's kind of like, well, what do I do with this? Like, how have you found the whole, let's enable the ecosystem in order to, in this new world and all those other cliches, there's so many things are possible. If everything is possible, you don't actually know what you can kind of focus on. How do you work with the different kind of stakeholders to fully make use of some of this great capability you're building?
I think this is where like our startup ecosystem has amazing ideas and often very specific ideas of, where a product is needed because they understand the ecosystem as well. So we'd love to partner with them because they're building more specific solutions that can solve more specific problems. Yeah. And that's what then, prevents somebody from having from us boiling the ocean and having this not knowing where to start, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. So here at Bio International, I've seen, Nvidia's busy doing the rounds and connecting with the ecosystem. What have been the key conversations or the most relevant you found or interesting that you can share?
Yeah, so one of my roles, I'm here focusing a lot on the translation from, agentic AI and that understanding of biology and chemistry into now, how do we take that into the lab and validate some of those predictions? And how do we make the lab not the bottleneck in this design, make, test cycle now? So a lot of lab automation companies and data platforms and AI scientists are coming together in that ecosystem to enable faster lab in the loop cycle times. And so those are a lot of the conversations I'm having here on people that are interested in building out that automated lab, on thinking about physical AI now as the next frontier, so that the agents are not just making predictions, but now are connected to an orchestrator that understands the layout of your lab, that understands all of the laboratory information management system, what supplies and reagents you have, what starting materials you have, and then based on your hypothesis can then formulate an execution plan, and then being connected to all of your laboratory instruments and automation systems can then execute that. The data comes off of those instruments, then back into your data platform, and it's ready to refine those predictions and models so that you can make your next hypothesis.
Yeah, amazing. And lastly, any other final thoughts, reflections, and stuff coming away from Bio, or even things that you'd hope the rest of the ecosystem will start to think about or now realize is possible?
Yeah, I think we're at this inflection point of agentic AI now, and it certainly is permeating a lot of conversations that I'm having. Big Pharma are across the spectrum. Some are early adopters that are leaning in and are really at the bleeding edge with building their own AI capabilities and agentic capabilities and infusing that in every step of the process. And others are looking to partner in this space because they're wanting to sort of leapfrog into the front here. So everybody's leaning in different ways, and it's exciting to see here.
My name is Arjun Bhat. I'm one of the co-founders at Clinrol. We're a patient management software and platform company where we help clinical trial sites make their life easier when it comes to recruitment and patient management.
Yeah, amazing. And I'm sensing the strong Australian accent for once here in some of these conversations we've had here on the podcast. So it's good to see Australian representation.
Yeah, absolutely. Brought up in Sydney, and we're an Australian-born company. All of our founders are Australian, and we're proud to help sites, especially in Australia, build this platform from the ground up, just really understand the pain points that they have, especially when it comes to recruitment, patient processing, and just speeding things up when it comes to engagement, retention, and the trial operations.
No, nice one. We'll come to the international opportunity near the end of the chat, but just more on the challenges in Australia. So patient recruitment. So finding, with clinical trials, often, as I understand it, clinical trials often have a really particular requirement when it comes to patients, depending on what the trial's about. And sometimes it can be like finding that proverbial needle in the haystack type thing. But also at the same time, there's a lot of patients that if they were aware of a trial, they'd probably be all over it. So is that kind of directionally the challenge we're addressing?
Exactly, yeah. So we kind of do it in multiple factors, or tackle the problem in multiple factors. So we have a patient matching aspect where a patient can go onto our platform. There's a bunch of studies or a lot of studies. They can basically, using natural language, type in what study they're looking for, their demographics, what condition they have, and they'll basically be matched with various studies that fit their criteria. And then on the site side, we have a platform where for example, there's a lot of studies these days where things are getting popular, like things like GLP-1 studies, where a site might get 1,000 interested leads, and that takes a lot of time to process all those leads. Some of these sites only have 1 or 2 staff that do patient recruitment. So our platform automates that process, engages with interested patients, checks their eligibility automatically, and then schedules them for a screening visit.
Yeah, right. Am I understanding it right then? So, it's not even the finding the patients kind of well, yes, that's a challenge, but then like there could even be situations where there's a big pool of patients who've been identified and there is further credentialing or eligibility checking that needs to be done. It's just that at that end that checking needs to be done, sometimes there's not enough capacity to do it. So there'll be a big pile of patients that could have gone through, but there was that tiny kind of pipe to get them through.
Yeah. So, I mean, the best example I can give you is we were running a central recruitment campaign for endometriosis, sorry.
Yeah.
And we were sending good referrals, but there was one site that essentially didn't follow up with a patient until 2 months later. And it wasn't because that patient wasn't a good fit. It just simply was a case that they didn't have enough time to reach out to that patient. They were preoccupied with, I guess, more important aspects of clinical trial conduct. So that's why we built this platform from the ground up. We have automation and engagement tools that automatically reach out to patients once they register.
Yeah.
It keeps them in the funnel. It allows them to understand where they actually sit in the recruitment funnel. It provides automated information as they progress through the different stages of recruitment.
I feel like that's going to become increasingly important too. If the vibe I'm getting here at Bio is that the big appeal in this industry of Australia is the opportunities that exist in doing clinical trials. And if we're presenting ourselves as a great place to do clinical trials, we want to be able to do clinical trials well.
Exactly, yeah. So, I mean, everyone talks about the R&D incentive and good regulatory pathways or the quick regulatory pathways. But I think Australia is great operationally. We have great sites. We have great staff. Quality is always excellent. And Clinrol, our job is to, make things more streamlined for sites, especially when it comes to engaging with patients, processing patients, checking that they're eligible, and they just understand where they sit in the whole trial process.
And I guess too, if I was thinking about justifying the return on investment, it makes a lot of sense to me just being able to give access to more patients to clinical trials, but there's got to be huge commercial opportunity or that's left on the table or that is kind of seen as waste when we're trying to use humans on tasks that probably AI is more helpful at.
Exactly. Time is money, right?
Yeah.
So, if we can harness technology, especially AI, to do those repetitive, low, I guess, oversight required items and just get AI to do it, it means that we actually get site staff, humans, freed up to take care of more important aspects like patient care.
Yeah.
So, we've seen recruitment teams at sites spend 8 hours a day just trying to follow up, a bunch of patients. And then a week later, those bunch of patients aren't even eligible.
Yeah.
So if we can kind of use AI to automate that whole process. So at Clinrol, we do AI outbound pre-screening calls, which a lot of sites are now using, which really helps them with that high volume. So, it just frees up more time.
What's been the reception like from a patient receiving a AI phone call? We might already all be receiving AI sales calls, and it's we've had our own previous experiences years and years ago with automated IVRs, and I know it's very different technology, but has there been any early indications on people's acceptance of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's 80% completion rate.
Oh, wow.
Our methodology is we don't pretend that it's a human.
No.
We are upfront that it's an AI call.
Yeah.
And the interested participant or patient actually needs to schedule the AI call. So they know it's coming.
Yeah.
We would never do, an out of the blue call to a person because, that's just when things go wrong. And it's just about giving that optionality. So some people, they obviously work 9 to 5. Clinics are open 9 to 5 during the week. So, the opportunity for an interested participant to receive a call, an eligibility call on the weekends or after 5 just makes sense. So, it's just using technology to make the experience much better.
100%. if I receive an AI phone call out of the blue, it's going to be a lot of work to do to kind of keep me on that phone call. But if it's I'm scheduling something in and I can make the call at 3 a.m. because that's when I'm available because I'm traveling or whatever, then amazing. I'm all for it. So I can see the real opportunity that exists there. And so you're here at Bio in San Diego.
Yeah.
What brings you to the event?
Just to meet people, spread awareness about how we're using technology at Clinrol to solve, a real issue in clinical trials, which is obviously recruitment and patient management and retention. Had some great conversations with all three stakeholders, so sponsors, CROs, and sites and site networks as well. We continue to notice that, a lot of clinical trials and sites aren't using the right type of technology. They're using, for example, CRMs that are built for sales and other tools that have, been built 20, 25, 30 years ago. And they're basically sticky taping things together. Yeah. So it's really refreshing to have a conversation with someone, whether that's, a sponsored CRO or a site, and just explaining that we've built a centralized platform specific for clinical trials. We're also going through all of the security standards and privacy aspects, and really excited to continue the conversation with as many people as we can and spread awareness.
Yeah. And lastly, what's on the horizon then, as you come back home, always work to be done. Where's some of the priorities for Clinrol?
I think just kicking goals with roadmaps. So we've launched the Clinrol Connect at the start of this year, and we've received a lot of good feedback. And based on that feedback, we can continue to add to the roadmap, really, kicking more goals in terms of filling those pain points with sites and site networks, using AI technology to get rid of those, mundane, repetitive tasks and giving more time back to the sites. That's our goal, and we'll continue to do that. We love feedback, and exciting times ahead, I think.
Thanks for having me. My name is Tran. I'm a general manager at Hippocratic AI. I lead our life science solutions, especially in clinical trials. Before this, I was the co-founder and CEO of a company called Grove AI. We were the first to market with AI agents to run clinical trials. So we helped clinical trial sites, CROs, as well as pharmaceutical sponsors to run clinical trials faster with pre-screening and recruitment through these agents.
Very cool.
So very excited to be here at Bio and share a bit more about how we help our pharma customers run trials faster.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to ask about what is the role of then AI in clinical trials?
Yeah. So I started off working as a AI researcher at Stanford Medicine, so a hospital. And essentially what my job was before ChatGPT came out was to really think about how we can run clinical trials and do clinical services faster. And I remember when GPT-2 came out and the very beginning of these models, I was like, oh my gosh, we can start to do calls to people and actually interact with them and say, hey, Peter, can I educate you about trial? And it was no longer, this chat bot. You can actually have an interactive conversation and be there 24/7. And so then I ran to my co-founder, Sohit, who also works there at Stanford Med, and said, so we can actually speed up the hundreds of thousands of hours that are manual in clinical trials and do a lot of this work through agents. So that's really the premise of it.
Yeah, right. And so is that the recruitment side of things, like finding the right people to jump onto trials? Because that's part of the challenge. Often there's like really specific niche requirements that to find those needles in haystacks can be difficult.
Yes, definitely. And so what our tech does is before a patient or a participant enrolls in a trial, there can be tens of thousands of folks who are interested. They express their interest through Facebook ads, community events, in person, their doctors. And a lot of times, because clinical trials is not a part of central clinical services, it gets, taken overlook. Go to ct.gov, find it yourself, find your own sites. What these agents do is will contact you and say, hey, Peter, I saw you were interested. You consented to receiving more information. Can we tell you a bit more about the trial? Can we ask you a few questions so that we can see which trial is the best match for you? Great, we found a great match. Where are you located so we can find the closest site? Can we help you book your transportation? Can we help you warm transfer to the site? These are all things that the agents does on demand. So you can think about it like Amazon customer service, but maybe on steroids.
Yeah, right. Got you. And is that the big blocker now? Because I think about the reason you deploy agents to do that is because if you were to get a bunch of humans to do that, you'd need a lot of humans and a lot of time, whereas agents you could deploy all at the same time. So is that the challenge, that there's an opportunity to engage with a lot of people who potentially might be a fit, but you've got to kind of really hit a lot of people at the same time? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, we just did the math for one of our clients, a phase 3 trial, arthritis trial that we just ended up recruiting for. They needed about 750 participants across 89 US locations, and they needed to speed this up. And so essentially enrolled our agents. We trained it on the protocol, got the script IRB approved, went through everything, deployed the agents out to pre-screen 25,000 potential participants. We ended up enrolling about 1/8 of their trials in a span of 4 months.
Okay.
And we compared that to the normal industry rates for the same therapeutic area. And we were about 168% faster in randomization, just because we were able to, provide this full concierge. And so that was a team of about 28 or 30 folks, but we did that span of work with, like 1 or 2 engineers doing that agent behind the scenes.
Interesting.
Stuff. Yeah.
And directionally, where does this go? Like, if this is the demonstration of the potential of it in the clinical trial space, where are you seeing the ball going?
Yeah, so today I'm here at this panel actually with the FDA commissioner, another person from a different hospital system. And really, it's to talk about some of the results that we've been seeing for the past 2 years, and now to push the boundaries of where this can be possible in trials. So now the question is, great, we support with pre-enrollment. What else can we do? Can we support with concierge in trials? Can we help folks with adherence? Can we help folks after the trial ends? What else is possible out there? At Hippocratic, we're now also launching solutions for agents to support within patient services on the commercial side, as well as to educate doctors, playing like an MSL support role for a medical science liaison to go out and help doctors understand the latest tests and trial results. So we're doing a lot of cool work generally, and I think this will be very helpful for the community as a whole.
Yeah, nice one. And lastly, because this is my first bio, if there was something I should be really keeping an eye out for other than AI in clinical trials, or maybe that's the hottest topic, I'm not sure. What should me or other people checking out bio, or what do you think we should keep our eye on?
I think I'm here just to learn the science, go read all the cool research papers that are being published. I think a lot of times at these conferences, researchers come with posters and findings that are exclusively just at these conferences and not posted anywhere else online. Can't find it on PubMed or elsewhere. And at the heart of bio and in these life science companies is the assets, is the research. Clinical trial operations is one part, but having a very successful candidate and an asset that you can take to market that works well in folks with high efficacy rates is definitely very helpful. So I'm very excited about seeing all the new compounds and new researchers that are coming here, and I think everyone else should be too.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Talking Health Tech. Make sure you like and subscribe and share this episode with someone who might find it valuable. For more information and resources about healthcare innovation, visit talkinghealthtech.com.